It's been about 3 months since my last video covering my journey to learn how to play shmups, and it's time for an update. Back when I created my first video, I didn't envision this to be an ongoing vlog about my journey, but given the popularity of those videos and the time and effort that I've been dedicating towards this, it's become an anticipated event for me. If you haven't seen any of the previous videos in this series yet, I've linked them in the video description and provided a title card at the top of this video to that playlist. So, if YouTube brought you to this video first, I'd recommend going back and checking out those for some context. At the end of my last video, I set a goal for this calendar year of completing Mushihimesama Futari version 1.5 Arcade Original on a single credit, and I'm happy to say that I'm making progress towards this goal. So, in this video, I'll cover the progress made with a focus on what I've learned along the way. Novice mode to arcade was a big jump and a little bit of a shock. The difficulty jump between them wasn't massive, but at the same time, a lot of little things made a huge difference. For one, Novice mode had an auto bomb feature. So when you took a hit, the game automatically launched one of your bombs, if you still had any remaining. You only lost a life if you took a hit with no bombs remaining. The arcade mode doesn't include this feature, and you have to be a lot more aware of your surroundings because of that. While it sometimes seems a little unfair, it taught me over time to anticipate tough spots to strategically bomb, and to look ahead enough to avoid cheap deaths where I was cornered with no place to dodge. Something I learned a few months in is how different arcade modes work. There are 3 of them: Original, Mania, and Ultra. I had originally assumed that Original was essentially the normal difficulty, Mania was hard, and Ultra was extremely hard. Now, they are in a sense, but there's more to it. Original, which I've chosen for my challenge, features less dense bullet patterns than Mania or Ultra, but the bullets are faster in this mode than Mania, requiring incredibly quick reflexes. Mania has much more dense bullet patterns, but a little bit slower bullets. Ultra combines the fast-moving bullets from Original with even more dense patterns of bullets than Mania, and also adds suicide bullets from destroyed enemies on top of that. Obviously, I'm going to stay away from Ultra for quite a while. The first thing that I did as I started seriously playing Arcade Original was to try out every character loadout option and settle on one that I would be comfortable playing as. When I played Novice, I chose Recco Regular as the default option and it worked out fine, but I wanted to try every option. There are 2 characters with 2 weapon loadouts each. The 2 characters are basically opposites when it comes to their attributes. The characters are Reiko and Palm. Reiko moves slower than Palm when firing her rapid shot and faster when using her focused laser. Palm is completely the opposite with very fast movement and rapid firing and moves very slow when focusing. Both characters have a normal shot profile and an abnormal shot profile. As I tried out each type, I found that I liked Reiko Normal and Palm Abnormal. Reiko Normal seems like the most traditional. Her rapid shot is a spread attack that can easily clear out a screen full of enemies, but her focused laser is narrow and lacks a lot of punch. This was my second choice. My favorite choice, and the one I ultimately decided on, was Palm Abnormal. Rapid fire shoots bullets straight ahead, and as you move across the screen, a small ripple of bullets surrounds him, allowing you to take out some close enemies. Where Palm's abnormal shot really shines is the focus shot. This is a laser that is fired in a straight line, while your options assist with a lock-on lightning attack. Palm's focused attack is the most powerful weapon in the game, but there's a downside as his rapid fire attack is the weakest in the game with the narrowest area of fire. I like this profile for Palm because while the stages themselves are more of a challenge to make progress through, he can kill large enemies and bosses incredibly quickly. In fact, some bosses don't even get through all of their attack patterns with Palm. This helped me a lot in progressing, as bosses were the toughest parts for me when I got started. This character and loadout fit my preferred style of playing the best. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the first stage boss with both characters. I used the exact same strategy with each, but look how much quicker Palm destroys the boss. Now that I'd landed on a preferred character, it was time to start learning the game. I would start by running through the entire game, using as many credits as I needed just to get a feel for the game itself. Early on, I was using an embarrassing number of credits, especially on stages 3 through 5. Then, I focused on learning each stage using the training mode. This is great since I can select the level I want to practice and even start right at a boss. It's not as good as save states on an emulator, but it gets the job done. You also get to choose the rank for that segment, more on that in a bit. Once I got the stage figured out, I would start working on the boss. I would train over and over again, playing with a single life and restarting if I died. I wanted to do it this way because I would have to get through bosses from the first 4 levels without dying. The game only gives you 3 lives, and besides an extend at 35 million and 65 million after that, there's only a single extra life that you can pick up, and that is deep into the final level. I would need as many lives as I could get for that final stage, which plays out like an endurance match with 3 segments instead of the 2 segments like the previous stages. I would practice the bosses until I could beat them without losing a life consistently. At that point, where I could beat them 3 to 4 times in a row, I would move on to the next stage. Stages 1 and 2 didn't take that much time to learn, and within the first month of playing, I was able to easily and consistently make it through those stages without dying or expending any of my bombs. Stage 3, on the other hand, has been a giant roadblock. Even in novice mode, this level gave me trouble. In fact, I find this level more difficult than stages 4 and 5. And from what I've read on several forums and Discord servers, I'm not alone in this. Stage 3 is unapologetically cruel in its difficulty. There are several things that gave me issues on this level. The first segment is alright, but my difficulties started at the mid-boss. If you destroy this mid-boss too quickly, you'll be punished with a segment of screen-filling enemies to avoid. It's not overly difficult, but carelessness can cause you to die unnecessarily, and it's best not to bomb this boss. Avoid the optional section as much as you can. The final segment of this level, plus the boss, is where I really had some trouble. There's so much going on, and the enemy patterns lure you into inescapable traps the entire way through. The worst that there are large beetles that hide and will pop up at the most devastating times. I almost never got through this segment without dying, and I've decided that taking a life at this point is fine as long as I don't lose another life on the boss. After all, it's around this part of the game that I get enough points to hit the first extend. This boss also has a couple difficult patterns, especially the very first one. It shoots 2 waves of aimed bullet columns. When I get past the first pattern, I usually do pretty good against all the others. I practiced this fight probably 100 times or more, each time looking for a route that would work the best for me. I finally started getting to the point that I was beating him without dying sporadically, and after even more practice, it became more consistent. I mentioned setting the rank or difficulty level during practice, and there is a setting for default rank for that segment that you're training on. Strangely, when I practice this level, I do much better than when I'm playing through on a continuous run. It seems that the actual game increases the rank beyond the default. Many people in various shmup forums have also noticed this. It might be that the default rank wasn't programmed correctly, or that the default rank is calculated based on much fewer collected gems than the average player would have when they get to this level. So, while I was practicing, I set the rank to the highest difficulty that the game could provide you. Finally, when I was able to beat the boss at the maximum rank, my continuous playthroughs ended up a lot better. This is a strategy that I intend to keep through levels 4 and 5, is to practice on the higher ranks, or maximum rank. That way, when I actually do a continuous run of levels 1 through 5 without any breaks, it'll be a little bit easier on me. Currently, I'm working on stage 4, and I can get all the way to the boss of this stage on a single credit during a continuous run. I spent a lot less time on this level than stage 3, and this one seems a lot easier by a large margin. When I play with continues, I'm able to beat the game on 4 credits. this game doesn't have loops, so it throws everything at you to prevent you from beating the game during those final 3 stages. As I spent a few months practicing stage 3, I started feeling like I wasn't making much progress. It doesn't help that I have a very demanding career. I don't always have a lot of time to play games or make videos, so sometimes it's days or even a week or 2 between play sessions. Fortunately, I kept at it and got what some people might call their second wind. Not sure how or when it happened, but all of a sudden, things seemed a lot easier and I was making what appeared to be more progress. It's kind of like all that practice and focus on playing fundamentals finally started sticking, and I was subconsciously influencing my gameplay. It really came down to perseverance and not quitting when my skill level seemed to be stagnating. It also helps that I chose a game that I love, so I wasn't getting burned out on playing it. Some people had asked in the comments of my previous videos in this series about how long it would take me. To give you an idea of how much time I've spent so far, my play sessions range from about 40 minutes at a time to a little over an hour. Sometimes I go a week or more without playing, and usually that new session after a break involves a lot of dying and restarting in order to get the cobwebs cleared out of my brain. Overall time, I'd say I spent about 40 hours at this point, and I feel very close to the goal. Of course, getting out of stage 4 and tackling stage 5 are no small feats. I'm confident that I'll be able to reach my goal by the end of the year, maybe even sooner. Some people might balk at so much time spent on a game like this, but this is also the first time I've tried to clear a single credit game like this. In between sessions, in order to not tire myself out, I've dabbled in the arrange mode and the black label mode. Arrange is quite easy, even on Ultra, but it's a lot of fun. Black label isn't quite as hard as version 1.5, but has some really interesting gameplay elements that I'd really like to explore after finishing version 1.5. I've also recently started on the original Gradius on the PC engine, and with around 4 hours of play, I'm getting pretty far into the first loop. The game loops infinitely, though many people say the difficulty maxes at 9 loops. I don't expect to get quite that far. I think that my practice is spilling over into other games, as I never imagined getting as far as I have in such little time on Gradius, a series known to be incredibly difficult, and one that I've tried in the past with much lower amounts of success. If I can make it into the second half of this game with very little practice, I feel like I can't call myself a beginner very much anymore. Since the PC Engine version is very faithful to the arcade and even has an extra level, I'll probably take a look at that one in an upcoming review, so look for that coming soon. I'll also make another update on my progress in a few months. I do like to space these out a little bit since it gives me a lot to talk about when I do get around to them. Thank you so much for watching. Your continued views and comments on these shmup videos has been a great motivator for me to help work on my skills and work towards these goals. I'll see you in the next video. Until then.